U.S. birth rate fell another 4% in 2020, continuing a trend of this birth rate just continuing to decline. It's the lowest in our country's history that we've seen so far. NBC15's Colton Molesky is finding out how this is going to impact family-owned, family-run businesses, specifically here, Colton, the agriculture industry, which we know is so important here in Wisconsin.
It really is, Tim. And let's take a look first at some of those 2020 U.S. Census report numbers. It's the lowest birth rate since 1979, with just 3.6 million babies born last year. That continues the country's birth rate, which has dropped steadily since 2014. And this morning, I'm joined by Christine Whelan. She is a consumer science expert over at UW. Christine, thank you so much for waking up with us this morning.
Happy to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about this low birth rate. What are some of the theories about why this continues to drop?
Well, anytime you have a child, it is a sign of optimism and hope for the future, right? So if you worry about the economy, if you worry about the environment, if you worry about the future politics, then you may worry and not want to have a child. So yes, there are big global issues and big economic issues that impact individual family decisions.
Christine, the whole question that we've had this morning here in the newsroom is how does this impact specifically those industries that are family run, those things like agriculture, which are such a big part of the economy here in Wisconsin?
Absolutely. So with a family-run business, obviously you need to keep the family line going. And as young adults decide to delay childbirth, in 2010, the median age of childbirth, first birth, was 23. Now it's 27. So as families delay having kids, that means longer and longer between the generations. And that means a decrease in the possibility of passing on family business.
We'll continue to talk about this topic with Christine throughout the rest of the morning. For right now, we're going to send it over to Isabel. Isabel, a fascinating topic and something, like we've mentioned throughout the morning, could really impact those industries like agriculture here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Colton, great hearing what Christine had to say and looking forward to hearing what she has to share with us for the rest of the morning show. Stay with us. We'll have more news and weather coming up for you just after this break.
Right, results from the census from last year in 2020 shows another dip in the birth rate. It's continuing a trend that we've been seeing for a few years here now in the United States. NBC15's Colton Molesky joining us now live from the newsroom. We're talking this morning, Colton, about how this trend of a low birth rate is going to impact family-run businesses.
Tim, obviously, when you have a family-run business like something in agriculture, a farm maybe, it's going to have an impact if you're seeing a lower birth rate across the country. And the 2020 U.S. Census reports that this is the lowest birth rate since 1979, with just 3.6 million babies born last year. The country's birth rate has consistently dropped each year since 2014. Consumer science specialist Christine Whelan joins the show again. She's been talking with us this morning about the birth rate. So, Christine, when you're looking at the graphs and they show you kind of the progress report from 1990 to 2020, there is this ebb and flow. Is this something where it'll self-correct, this birth rate will self-correct, or is this something that maybe we should be concerned about?
We have seen a downward trend in birth rates. And so, yes, there will be a little bit of ebb and flow, but I do not see on the horizon the days of, an average of 4 or 5 kids per family. So certainly people are partnering older, they are having children older, and that delay and the economic concerns means smaller families.
Obviously, there's a lot of things you can take away from these numbers, but we've been zeroing in on that economic impact. So if you're looking at the long-term impacts on the U.S. economy of this birth rate, are there a few things that maybe folks like yourself are saying, these are ways that maybe we can correct it, we can fix it going forward if this is going to be kind of the staple trend moving forward over the next 5-10 years?
So the big thing that we look at is it's called the age dependency ratio. We look at how many people are being born and quite bluntly in terms of Social Security, who's going to pay for folks as they get older. So we are now in an age dependency ratio that has been quite difficult to support folks who are getting older. There are many ways to deal with this. One big one is immigration. So it is not just existing Americans that can have babies and increase the population. population, but we can invite in people from other countries and boost our population numbers that way. Otherwise, many countries are having economic incentives for families to have children or to have a second or even third child. And you see when there is more federally subsidized childcare, and that actually increases people's ability to expand their families as well.
Christine, thank you so much for your insight. Isabel, some fascinating stuff that we're looking into here this morning. I know that it's helpful to have an expert walk us through some of these really big numbers.